and welcome back to another episode of Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. Today we are joined by Tammi, who placed her son for adoption back in 2015. We're also joined by her best friend, Gretchen, who was there through it all and continues to remain her best friend. Well, welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Tammi, can you maybe start with taking us back to 2015 when you first found out you were pregnant and what you were considering?
When I first found out I was pregnant, my first thought was, oh God, what am I going to do? And then my next one went to the fact that I knew medically I wouldn't be able to have an abortion. There would be no way that they would allow it with my blood pressure the way it has been since I was little. So my next thought went to, what other option do I have? Parenting is not something that I ever thought myself would do. Even as a little kid, I never played house with anyone. I was always the teacher at school. And I love kids, but I just, with the way I grew up, didn't want to do it. I wanted to come up with another way to make this work out for me without having to end the pregnancy or to parent myself. So that's when I started to really think about adoption.
And how old were you at the time?
I got pregnant at 35 and was 36 when I delivered.
Well, and I think sometimes there's this stereotype that, women in their mid-30s would never possibly get pregnant and consider adoption as an option. Right? But for you, it sounds like you knew in your heart parenting was not something that you felt was the right choice for you.
Right. I grew up really rough. I had a really rough relationship with my mother, and I did not ever want to bring a child into this world and have them endure their childhood. I wanted them to enjoy their childhood, and it wasn't something that I could have 1,000% guaranteed that I could do. So another option had to be there for me. And I worked in Wynwood. So right near the Adoptions from the Heart office there.
Okay.
I would drive by it pretty much 4 times a day.
Oh, wow.
And that was first thing I thought of was, okay, let me see what they can do for me and how they can help me. And my son's father did not want to be involved. So even more, it was one of those things where I knew I didn't have the support system. Both of my parents have already passed. And friends are friends, but are they really going to get up at 4 a.m. and take you and a screaming baby to the hospital because you don't have a car? Probably not. Even though they love you, probably not.
So you reached out to Adoptions from the Heart and you got connected to
Ashley Codet. Yeah, okay. She was without a doubt the brightest light in such a dark time when I didn't really know where I was going to go. And I don't think it would have been the same experience if I didn't have her by my side. She made everything so effortlessly perfect and easy, and not once did I ever feel like I wasn't doing the right thing, and she helped support that.
Talk to me about your friend Gretchen and when you told her you were pregnant and considering adoption.
I didn't tell anybody, including her, that I was pregnant until I was probably about 4 months along.
Okay.
And even then, I only told, maybe 4 people? I kept it pretty close to the vest because I really wasn't sure how people would react to A, me being pregnant, and B, me not wanting to choose to parent. And it was probably a good thing I did because I didn't receive the expectations that I thought I would. A lot of people were supportive, but more were not, considering that I am older in age, that they were, how could you do this, And I looked at people and my thought was, how could I not? And it was my chance to make somebody else's dream come true, which I wouldn't have been able to do if I wouldn't have had her.
Yeah.
Everything in life is her by my side.
Talk to me a little bit, Gretchen, about what that was like as her really good friend and her facing this really tough moment in her life.
Well, when she first told me she was pregnant, I think the first thing out of my mouth was, okay, what do we do now? Just let's keep it moving, in a positive light. I've met Ashley as well, and talking with her and going with Tammi to some of these appointments and figuring things out and just learning everything that Adoptions from the Heart does and is able to do with open adoptions and such. It was just, I knew probably around the same time she knew that it was the right move for her. It's the proudest I've ever been of her.
Oh, well, and it can be hard on loved ones, whether it's family or friends, right? Because unplanned pregnancies can affect a lot of people in your life. And then when you choose adoption, that can also affect people in your life and what they go through. So it sounds like you are really proud of the decision she made and you stood by her no matter what she wanted.
Yeah, I did. It wasn't, there was never a thought that I was like, you're not going to raise this baby. And, I never went there. I went right to, this is gonna change someone else's life as well as yours. Yeah. So I was with her from start to finish.
Talk to me about the family that you changed their lives forever.
Henry is the luckiest little boy in the world. He has 2 dads that love him more than life itself. He's been able to have so many opportunities, but the biggest reason why I chose them was because when I read their profile, it wasn't about shoving religion down his throat, which one is very Catholic, one is very not. Mm-hmm. And it was more about the open adoption end of things and how communication was going to be and the ability to see him and get to know him. And that was what I was looking for, was somebody who was going to allow me to be in their life as much as I needed to be, or as much as they would permit me. Mm-hmm. And it's exceeded my expectations. Like, I read books to him every Sunday on Facebook Messenger. He called me mom for the first time this past Christmas. Mm-hmm. And, and then he said to me, call me back when you're done ugly crying. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, there's my little boy. He's just like me. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't have been more loved. His baby shower had 212 people at it, and they flew me out to be able to be there.
Wow.
And I was so overwhelmed with that kind of generosity and that much ability for people to have love for someone that they've never met. Sure. Just for the sheer fact that I did something for them that nobody else had done at that point. But I don't know why people don't think more in the ways of adoption. Sure. Because there are so many children that parents can't parent. They don't want to parent. They choose not to. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's harder to be a woman who doesn't want to parent than to be a woman who does. Mm-hmm. And never once did they question why. They never asked. And even now they still, what are you doing? How are you? What can we do to help you? How's your day going? Like, they're really good about the open end of things.
Talk to me about your decision to place your son with 2 fathers, because we often have families ask us that question. So, I'll have families who will say, are there birth parents out there that will want to place with us as a same-sex male couple? What would you say to that?
There absolutely are. There absolutely are. And there's no reason to think that there's not. My reasoning was twofold. One, I was always going to be the mother in the picture, because at some point my son is going to be old enough to know that there's something missing in the whole mechanics of it. And the other reason is that I have a ton of great friends, and my uncle is gay, and he would probably be the best parent in the world. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. And because he doesn't have a partner, and he also doesn't have a uterus, there's no way for a baby to happen. So why not make dreams come true for someone who physically can't have their dreams come true?
And it felt right for you.
It really did.
Heart, in your gut, this felt like the right family and the right choice.
I'm not a crier at all. And when I read their profile, I was actually at the hospital for a non-stress test because Henry didn't want to move ever. Daytime, dead asleep, nighttime, up all night. Sure. And I was already hooked up to the monitor and everything. And I called my nurse in. And I was like, I think I found him. And she's like, you're crying. And I'm like, I know. And she's like, you don't cry. I'm like, I know. And I gave her the profile, and she started to cry after she read it. And then I read every other one and still went right back to theirs. And it was, as soon as I read it, I knew.
Sure. Gretchen, what is your reaction, your overall reaction to the journey that Tammi has been on? What would you tell folks is something that you've learned or experienced about this whole open adoption process?
It's been more than, I've learned a lot, I will say that. I don't have any children myself, and going through this with Tammi, I've learned a lot about open adoption and how it can really be a benefit to everyone in the party. And up until this day and going forward, that's really been the case. I mean, they've been in contact with her. I was able to read their profile. She shared that with me. I was one of the few people who I was like, okay, these look like some good folks. And then I met them in person, and just, they were perfect. And we couldn't have had a better outcome. And it was the right thing for Henry. It was, and it just made me so happy that my best friend made this decision that, changed a lot of lives for the better.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, and she's lucky to have a best friend like you. And I wish more folks would be as accepting and not as judgmental, and let somebody truly decide what's right for them. Not what's right for you as the loved one, but what's right for that person and their experience.
Right. That was never a thought. It was never a thought. I knew she was right, and I was right there with her.
That's great. So Tammi, you are a birth mom who placed in 2015. Talk to me about what life has been like after that. Have you had any involvement with Adoptions from the Heart?
I have done a few events. I was at the 5K Finder Footing. I helped and volunteered for that. We've done, we're about to do again for November for National Adoption Awareness Month. We sell the Purple Hearts at my job, and we get them up on the walls, and we line the walls of our firehouse social hall with them. We're also going to extend that out and do a flower stand with it this year. I would love to be more involved. Any opportunity would be great. We did have one that right after I had Henry, Gretchen went to this one with me. I went down to the Wynwood office with Ashley and spoke to people that were in the process, whether they were waiting, if they had already been picked, if they were deciding if they were going to become active with their profile, and just answered everything. No question was too intense. No question was too invasive. The more information that people have about open adoption, I think the more comfortable people become with it, and the more comfortable people become with not quite the norm, like maybe a single mom looking to adopt. There's somebody out there that is going to pick you for their baby. So my advice is just to not give up. Just keep with it. There are more than enough children that need to be placed, and somebody will find you to be perfect for their child.
One of the things our agency has really tried to do over the last few years is provide more support for birth parents, especially post-placement. Can you talk about what it feels like to participate in these events and what that does for you in your own journey?
It is probably the most therapeutic thing in the world for me, because I struggle a little bit with not feeling guilty for my placement. I don't feel like I need to berate myself every day. I feel like it was the perfect thing for me to do, and it was acceptable, and it's accepted by everybody that I've come in contact with at Adoptions from the Heart. And sometimes it takes a village to help somebody with something, not just to raise a child, but to help them after you place a child. You have this little part of you that you aren't quite sure what to do with. And sometimes if you knew it was the right decision, that will eat at you for you not feeling guilty. So being able to reach out to social workers and anybody here is of wonderful value. Taking my time to spend with people that understand me is without a doubt the most rewarding feeling in the world. And I would do it over and over and over again.
And I definitely think we encourage women and men after they've placed to share their story in whatever capacity they feel comfortable with. And some maybe it's too hard for them, and we respect that decision. But I think there's value in what you're saying, because it can be therapeutic to kind of talk to folks and let them know what you've experienced and get that off your chest. And it really does help you in your own healing process and your own journey.
Absolutely.
With adoption.
I think a lot of it too is that with not having my parents around, because they did pass when I was younger, it's almost like having my mom and dad at every event I go to, where I will meet somebody that understands exactly what I'm going through, no matter who I choose to talk to. Everybody understands that we're all there for a common purpose, and that's to raise awareness and to support each other.
Yeah. And you're not alone.
No.
That's one of our biggest things to put out there is You're not alone. There's people out there that can understand what you've been through, and we want to provide that support to you.
It's almost like having a life preserver in the middle of the ocean. If you decide to swim from one side to the other, you know that if God forbid something would happen, you have that ring of people around you to pull you back and to keep you from drowning.
Sure.
And it's true. It really does help. I think the more people talk about it, the less taboo it becomes, and the more easily you can open up without fear of being judged. And I think that's my biggest thing, is that I don't like when someone has a comment to make and has something to say about something they knew nothing about.
Sure.
So instead of, judging, they should just listen a little bit. Listen to learn, not listen to respond.
Sure. So here at Adoptions from the Heart, we do have a birth parent fund as well as a scholarship fund where we receive tons of donations for people who are interested in just supporting the birth parent community as a whole. Can you share a little bit about your experience of receiving that
Yes.
scholarship fund?
I actually received that probably 2017, I believe. And I was ready to drop out of school because I just didn't have the funds to continue for another semester. And when Ashley had brought it up that she wanted me to even just to apply for it, so you never know. It could be now, it could be 2 months from now. But had I not done it and received it, which was really awesome, like somebody has that much faith in me that people can give up the little bit of extra money they have to help someone they've never met is beyond comprehension sometimes. And without that, I wouldn't have graduated with my associates in psychology. And I am currently going to Drexel University for my master's degree.
Wow.
And I will graduate in about 10 months with a degree in child psych with a minor in art therapy.
Wow.
It was probably the coolest thing I've ever done with my life. I was so proud of myself.
You should be. I mean, we talk a lot about like what happens to birth parents after they choose adoption, and you have gone so far. You've done so much. What a successful story you have.
I don't think I would have gone nearly as far as I've gone if I hadn't had my son.
Yeah.
He made me want better for myself. And I didn't want to be the same person that I was when I had him as when he turns 18 or when he turns 21.
Sure.
Like I wanted to show him that not just did I have him and do something wonderful, I continued
Sure.
to do wonderful things with my life to make him proud.
That's wonderful. Well, we appreciate you both so much. I mean, Tammi, you are a beautiful soul. You have
Thank
been
you.
through a lot. You continue to thrive. And I just think it's so powerful that you have been courageous enough to come on camera and share your story, because there's so much great use out of this, right? Folks will learn so much from your
Absolutely.
experience.
And I hope, people are really questioning or don't want to talk out loud to people that, maybe I'll get an email message or something, or someone will reach out to you guys asking if there's a way to get in touch with me so that they can have some one-on-one. And I would be happy to help anybody that listen, because listening is a big part of it. And a lot of people don't do enough of that.
Sure.
When I hear you speak in the group settings that we've been in, it's so powerful. And you can tell how powerful it is for the other people in the room as well. So she's the one, she's the advocate that you want to talk to about it, because she's going to give you the ins and outs. And
no sugarcoating anything. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you, Gretchen. Thank you so much for continuing to be that rock that Tammi needs.
Pretty much.
Yes.
We all need a Gretchen in our life.
You can't have mine though.
And Tammi, again, we just are so proud to know you and to hear your story.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And
it really does.
Your confidence shines through, and I think that's so wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much. We are hopeful that you were able to learn a little bit more about open adoption through both Tammi as well as Gretchen. We have wonderful clients that we work with. We're so proud to know you guys. Continue to tune in, and thank you so much for participating in AFTHtv.